of 68 Network. I'm your host, Dan Dickau, former Gonzaga player, trying to bring insight and some thoughts to make you look a little bit differently at this Gonzaga program, especially this year on such a unique year with COVID and a unique year in the fact that the chatter is starting. Can they go undefeated? It's possible when you now look at their schedule. They got through what everyone's going to say the tough part of the schedule, which is true to a certain extent, but you got to give Gonzaga and Coach Few a ton of credit for going out and scheduling those games and then competing at such a high level to get through the non-conference at 8-0. The first team in college basketball history in their first 7 games, 4 of the teams that they beat, their opponents were top 20 ranked opponents. So they're definitely trending in the right direction for those people that still are naysayers about the Gonzaga program. Today's episode a little different. Jeff Goodman, Field of 68. What do we want to call you? The consigliere? We want to call you the godfather of the network?
I don't know. We'll give that to Rob Doster.
Questions.
We'll give that to Rob Doster. Listen, always good to be on with you. We picked the right year for you to do this. That's for sure. I just hope you're not going to ask me to break down the NAU and Dixie State wins. Then I'm in trouble.
Well, we our regional broadcast crew had those games the last 2 nights, and those games quickly, I don't want to say evolved, but they kind of quickly devolved into some banter that some people like to hear, some others don't like to hear. But quite frankly, when it's a 45-point blowout early in the second half, what more can you talk about? We got off topic a little bit. We talked about some good topics. But we also saw some production from some of the young guys the last 2 nights that it might not look like, hey, they're really learning, but they are. You know, Umar Ballo had a really nice night last night, 17 points. Dominic Harris played really well the last 2 games. Anton Watson starting to provide a little bit more consistent play at that 4 position. I think after that big stretch of games that we mentioned right off the top, now you're getting into the opportunity where some of the young guys can get some experience, because as you know, Jeff, you're never going to get through a college basketball season healthy with all starters playing 30-plus minutes and starting every game. So you got to get some of those guys that would be in the rotation at other places, the 8, 9, 10 guys, get some minutes, and I think they did that the last couple nights.
You got to keep them happy too, right? Keep the guys happy that you want to keep in this program, because if you don't, and you're only playing 7 dudes every night, those guys are going to transfer. They're not going to stick around. A lot of them. They're certainly going to think about it. And now is the time when, to me, you sit at Jalen Suggs. Like, he probably was healthy enough to play in both of those games, if I had to guess. But for what, right? Like, give other guys opportunities. Give Andrew Nembhard, because it's a difficult year for Nembhard. He didn't want to play. He didn't. He was all set to sit out. And then obviously everybody gets a year back. His father flies up to Spokane. They have a meeting. They decide he's going to play. Well, his role is not what he thought it was going to be a year from now. He thought he was going to be the guy playing 35 minutes as a point guard. And now, well, it's Jalen Suggs' show for the most part. And so you've got to use these opportunities, whether it's these 2 games or going forward, even in some of the league games. If you're Mark Few, it's going to be very important that you pick your spots for when to be able to get these guys extended run, if you can.
No, you made a couple really good points there. First, the transfer. You know, people are probably on each, of these podcasts with comments going back and forth, as well as every school nowadays has these message boards that, you got your keyboard warriors out there that think they know the inside scoop, where unfortunately, I hate to break it to them, they really don't. And it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting dynamic, this transfer thing, because what you mentioned is completely true. There's an epidemic in college athletics and basketball in particular about the grass is always greener on the other side. And because of the ability now to transfer and not have to sit out, or, last year or the year before asking for a waiver and getting it accepted. And I heard some goofy ones like, where how is that transfer waiver accepted yet that one is not? I mean, there was no consistency with the rulings. And so I think you're exactly right, where a lot of coaches are kind of having to balance that fine line of, they know the player is 2 years away from being a solid rotational impact player.
Yep.
But in the mind of the player's parents or the player's AAU coach, that's not the case. And so, when you get a chance to kind of balance those minutes and increase those minutes in games, you got to do it to keep all things happy, all parties happy. But the Nembhard, situation, I think he's been phenomenal this year. And you're right. You transfer knowing I've got a year to sit. Your mind frame is, I'm going to work on my body. I'm going to work on my skill set. I'm going to learn the playbook. I'm going to attack practices in a way that these are my games. Now, all of a sudden, that waiver happens and he's immediately eligible. That's a hard change mentally to make.
Yep.
And I think he's done a tremendous job of that. He hasn't shot the ball the way that he's capable of, but his presence on the floor, his ability to push in transition, his ability to create in the half court, I'm excited to see him in Spokane over the next couple of years. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think again, that's the thing. He was going to work in the shot. That was the biggest thing. He was going to come out looking like a different player and look at his, working the shot next year. And now he's doing it on the fly, and he's playing more of a complementary role. And it's probably hurting his NBA stock right this year. It's not helping it this year. And next year, he's got to wait. He's got to wait for next year to be the guy. This year, he's got a chance to be on a national championship team. And then next year, have that hype going into it of him returning and him being the guy with probably Drew Timme, I'd have to guess. I think Timme will come back. I hope he comes back. Who knows? It's still a long season. But I think Suggs is gone, and we know Kispert's gone, and I don't want to start talking about that stuff already. I can't talk about Jalen Suggs leaving already.
I mean,
I'm enjoying him.
In.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the beautiful thing.
I love watching him, Dan. Can I tell you, honestly, of all the guys, and every year, there's a couple guys that you gravitate towards that you want to watch, no matter what. Forget about the team. You want to see that player because you just want to see what he can do and what he's going to do. That's Jalen Suggs to me this year, even more than Cade Cunningham.
Well, and I think the reason why is I think Cunningham's a little bit more of a scorer than Jalen Suggs, just from the limited sample I've seen with Cunningham. But the thing about Suggs is he just plays the right way. Yeah. I mean, offensively, as a point guard, he throws it ahead early, reminding me of Jason Kidd. When he doesn't, because the defense has flattened, he probes and creates, and then he makes the right read for himself or for others. Yeah. But I think the biggest difference, maybe I don't know if I want to call it the difference, but the thing I'm most impressed about is for a freshman point guard, the way he defends.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
I can't remember of a single freshman point guard that defends the way he has. And that's something that this Gonzaga program really has never had. A big 6'3", 6'4" point guard with athleticism.
That was you, Dan. What do you mean? That was you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Nigel Williams-Goss was a good defender, but he was a positional defender.
He wasn't athletic. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Not like athletic like Suggs. Exactly. And the fact he plays so hard too, being quote unquote a guy,
It's amazing as a top recruit to come in and his willingness to defend, to embrace that part of it. The fact that he can move the ball, he's unselfish, yet he can get his, but it doesn't look like he's being a pig. It's amazing to me. No, I honestly loved you. I'm doing a mock draft now, and I'm having him at number one.
I was just gonna ask you because the conversations I can only imagine are Suggs, Cade Cunningham, and probably I would guess Evan Mobley from USC. I mean, I don't think
Jalen Green from the G League Ignite team as well.
Sure, and that's where the college basketball fans that are always talking about these mock drafts of, oh, this guy's a first round pick. Hold on a second. There's G League guys now that can be drafted because they went that route.
Yep.
And then the European factor that, the college fan really doesn't understand. I mean, you're looking at nobody knows who Jokic was when he was drafted. Nobody knows who all these other first-round guys are.
I mean, even Luka. Like, we have people questioning Luka, like a lot of people, because he wasn't a great athlete. So you're like, well, how's he going to fit in today's game? Well, it's worked out pretty good for Luka.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's where there's two different games. The pro game is so different than the college game. You could be a tremendous college player, and not have a chance at the NBA.
Oh,
and then you can be a mediocre college player and be tremendous in the NBA. It's just a different game.
Luka Garza is a great example, right? Like, he's the best player in college, no question about it right now. And most NBA guys I still talk to say, listen, he's a second-round pick.
Yeah.
He'll probably go somewhere in the 30s or 40s. He's gotten better, but in today's game too, a big plotting big man. Now he can go out and shoot it now. That's the advantage. He can do that. Their biggest worry with him is obviously his foot speed, his ability to guard at the next level.
Yeah, and that's where and the other unfortunate thing is when you're talking about an older player like Garza or for Gonzaga, Kispert, it gives front offices 4 years to evaluate and nitpick and get stuck on the things that they don't like as opposed to the things that they do like. Now, in Kispert's case, I think he's done a tremendous job of improving every single year, and that's a testament to the Gonzaga program. But when he came in, he was not a great defender.
Right.
He has become a good defender, and that's through a lot of hard work in the weight room, basketball IQ growing over the course of 4 years. And I think when he has had the opportunity to talk to the coaching staff and get feedback from what NBA teams evaluate him on, he's taken it to heart and worked on it. And that's not necessarily the case with a lot of guys. So I think it goes both ways with being in college for 4 years. But for Garza, I think it's probably hurt him. Yeah. But for a guy like Kispert, I think it's helped him.
Totally, because he's added – you're right. I mean, listen, everybody knew he was a good shooter. Now he's shown he's an elite shooter. And the other part that's helped Corey Kispert is Joe Harris and Duncan Robinson.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like, the more you see those dudes – Joe Harris get paid and Duncan Robinson just reining them at 6'8", and Duncan Robinson's going to make. I mean, seriously, he may make. I don't know.
He might make $100 million. I mean, you're talking Joe Harris is a Washington kid.
Yeah.
Congrats to him. His dad was a tremendous high school coach at Chelan High School in the middle of the state, but $75 million kids get out there and rep that jump shot. I mean, it's amazing.
Right, you don't have to guard. If you're trading threes for twos, you just got to honestly, you got to try to guard and be smart enough to be in the right position. If you're doing that, they'll take that in the NBA if you're trading threes for twos. If you're an elite shooter and you can space the court, no doubt. Hey, I had a huge dilemma. I was picking my All-American team the other day. First team All-American team, 5 weeks into the season here, conference play starting everywhere. And the hardest decision I had was which Gonzaga player to pick. Like,
you only pick one? Because they're running away as the number one favorite to win the title.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should have more than one player. I don't know if that's what you're going to tell me now. Like, I picked 5 guys, and I went Jared Butler, Garza for sure.
Yeah.
Jared Butler from Baylor. He's the best player on the second best team. They're undefeated. Ayo Dosunmu from Illinois. He's been sensational.
Yeah.
And I went Marcus Carr from Minnesota. He's been tremendous too. And I saved one spot for Gonzaga. Maybe I should have saved more than one, but I just figured, let's be fair. Let's spread it around. Who would you go with? You get one pick right now. I want to know your answer to this, and I'll tell you who I chose out.
That is a loaded question because they both impact the game in so many different ways. And the problem, I think, is to be an All-American, you've got to be, one, a tremendous player to even be in the conversation. 2, your numbers have to really kind of justify the selection, and your team has to win.
Right.
I don't know enough about Marcus Carr. The other 3 guys to me are if they continue to play at the level they're playing at, they're almost locks. I haven't seen Marcus Carr enough to really say take him off or keep him on, to be honest. but he'd have to be pretty dang good to keep one of these two Gonzaga players off the list.
Yeah, and he is. I mean, they're like 8-1 at Minnesota, and
But can they keep that going? I mean, I know the Big Ten. I saw a comment on social media the other day. It's only a matter of days until the Big Ten conference coaches start saying all 14 teams should be in the NCAA tournament. They're that good this year.
Led by Fred Hoiberg. Yes. No doubt. No doubt.
Is Minnesota able to continue the way it's gone?
They don't have an elite team. Okay. Like right off the bat, they don't have that team. Like, I don't know who their best team is. Is it Wisconsin? Is it Iowa? I don't know. Is it Rutgers? There's a lot of really good teams. They probably do deserve, 10 teams at the end of the day. But I don't know if they have a team capable of winning 6 straight. Like, to me, clearly the top 3 teams, in my opinion, like Gonzaga, Baylor, Villanova are the 3 teams. Unless something crazy happens, I'm probably going to pick all 3 to get to the Final Four. I just think they're that much better. They're older. They've got defined roles, really good players, really good coach, like everything about them. I just think it fits. The 4th team, I don't know. We'll see. So
I like Illinois. I do. I mean, I think the point guard Io is tremendous. They've got the other kind of slithery guard, Frazier, I believe is his name, the lefty. And then they've got some good size. I don't think their size are guys that you're going to worry about them going for 20 and 8 on a consistent basis. But they're good. They're skilled, and they're very well coached with Brad Underwood.
In a dark alley, that's what you worry about. If you see Kofi Coburn,
yes,
dark alley, you run like hell the other way, Dan.
And you need that in March. You need that in March, and that's something that the toughness factor of sometimes you just need one early. I call it giving a guy a shot. You give a guy a shot early in the game, and it kind of stuns somebody.
Yep.
They're not going to go to the offensive glass. They're not going to cut as hard. They're not going to come off of screens or set screens the way that they normally would. And if you've got that guy on your team in March, you've got the advantage.
So, all right, before we wrap soon here, you can't avoid my question. You're trying to, but you can't avoid it. Who do we get?
I know I was trying to avoid it because if there's Gonzaga people that which I'm sure are going to listen to this
that's why I'm doing it.
I'm going to get questions here or there. I would say Corey Kispert. I think because of the fact that you also I think you got to look at it from a bigger picture as far as the leadership that he's providing and the growth that he's shown as a player. I think that I don't want to say because of that he should get the nod, through voters, but because I've been around the program so long and I've seen the evolution of his game, he's just a great story for college basketball. I mean, he came in as a really nice player and he's worked his tail off to become a great college player. Yep. And if he keeps up his play like this, yes, he should be a first-team All-American. I don't see any reason why if Drew Timme keeps his level of play that he wouldn't be, a second-team All-American. And then obviously Suggs should be in the conversation for Freshman of the Year.
He'll be a third-team All-American, and we'll have
you never know. That would be amazing. I mean, you would probably know more than I would about when the last time a team had 3 All-Americans. I don't consider getting votes and honorable mention. That's not an All-American to me.
I wonder if
the first Duke. 3 teams are the ones that matter.
I feel like it was probably a Duke team.
Probably.
Because they get the juice too, right? Like not only do they maybe earn it, but you're also going to get that Duke juice. And I think Gonzaga is starting to get it now. I do. I think if the season ended today, I would absolutely have Kispert on my first team. I might even have Suggs and Timme on my second team, All-Americans. I think, honestly, you can make a case that those are
you could make the case. Players. Yeah. I would not argue you out of that if I was overseeing your ballot before you sent that in.
When's the next game that's going to be, good for the Zags now? And so just so I got to know what to circle here. I mean, I know USF. Listen, I saw them beat Virginia. So they certainly are capable. But I don't.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the schedule right now on my phone, and USF with Todd Golden, they've done a nice job. But again, you're talking. The WCC has improved over the last few years.
Yep.
And I firmly believe that. Yeah, I think Damon Stoudemire is doing a great job at Pacific. I think USF, St. Mary's, BYU continue to be really good. But Gonzaga's raised the bar even more than those teams have improved, which is amazing to think. The question to me are going to be the games at St. Mary's and BYU. It's always such a raucous, kind of crazy environment.
There's no fans there this year.
Yeah, there's no fans there, although BYU might. I think from what I've heard, they might be able to have some fans. Gonzaga doesn't have to go in to that environment, but you can create energy based off of that crowd's energy. Can they go into those gyms when they're quiet and continue to create their own energy and play at a high level? Those are the two that are really interesting to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, it's going to be a fun ride. I appreciate you having me on as always. And you got to shovel some snow now, don't you?
Absolutely. So Spokane, we got about 4 inches last night. It's supposed to snow the next 3 days. So thank you, Jeff, for joining the Bulldog broadcast on the Field of 68 Network. Love breaking down the game. Always love talking hoops with you. And yeah, I got to get out to that snow because it's coming down hard.
All right. We'll talk soon. Happy New Year.
You too.